In the beginning, there was nothing, and God said, "Let there be light." God created the light to shine in the emptiness. And an evening and a morning the first day. And God saw that it was good. And God saw that it was good. On the second day, God created a dome over the waters. God created the sky. An evening and a morning, the second day. And God saw that it was good. And God saw that it was good. On the third day, God said, "Let the waters separate themselves so that there may be land, and waters, seas, and earth." An evening and a morning, the third day. And God saw that it was good. And God saw that it was good. The next day, God said, "Let there be a light to rule the day, and a lesser light to rule the night, the sun and the moon following in their courses." And God saw that it was good. And God saw that it was good. The next day, God said, "Let there be birds to fly, and let there be fish to swim, and all manner of animals and vegetation that they might eat. And let them have dominion over this place which I have created. Sea monsters, butterflies, ferrets, mosquitoes, earthworms, oysters, rock lobster, fish, whales, crabs and chickens, an evening and a morning the 5th day. And God saw that it was good. And God saw that it was good. The 6th day, God said, let us make humankind in our image. Let us make people, men and women, boys and girls, screaming babies, people of a certain age, and let them fill the earth and enjoy this beautiful creation and subdue it. And God saw that it was good. And God saw that it was good. And the 7th day, God looked at all He had created, and was tired. And said, let us rest on this 7th day and celebrate, pray upon all we have accomplished. And God saw that it was good. 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 And God saw that it was
The people of Israel prayed to the Lord that they would be free. And the Lord chose for them one who would lead them out of their bondage in Egypt. His name was Moses. And Moses did lead his people out of Egypt and into the desert toward the sea. But they were pursued by Pharaoh's armies. When the dusk came, The Lord placed a pillar of fire and cloud between them, so that the one could not approach the other all night long. At the edge of the sea, Moses held his arm out over the waters, and the Lord blew a strong east wind over the waters all the night long, that parted the waters and dried the land beneath them. So when the sun rose in the morning, Moses led his people into the sea, where they walked on dry land, with a wall of water to their right and a wall of water to their left. Seeing this, Pharaoh's armies pursued them into the sea and drove their chariots into the sea. But the wheels of their chariots were choked with the sand and would not turn. The soldiers cried to each other, "Let us flee from these Israelites, for the Lord is with them and not with Egypt." Moses held his arm out over the seas again, and the waters began to return and poured toward the soldiers and the chariots and the horses. And each were thrown into the sea. And as the waters returned to their own level, none of them remained. But Moses had led his people through the dry land to safety, with a wall of water on the right and a wall of water on the left. And thus the people of Israel were saved by the Lord on that day. They saw the Egyptians dead on the seashore. Then Miriam, the prophet, and the sister of Aaron, took a tambourine in her hand and led the other women with tambourines in their hands and singing and dancing. And Miriam sang to them, "Sing unto the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. Horse and rider have been thrown into the sea."
Sing unto the Lord, 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 sing unto the Lord.
I am Jonah, old now, and not moving very well, but I was swift once. I thought I could outrun Yahweh, the Lord of the Hebrews. When Yahweh said to me, "Rouse yourself, Jonah, go to Nineveh and proclaim to them that their wickedness has even forced itself upon me." Well, I ran in the other direction. I was a kid, Can you imagine me proclaiming in the marketplace that everything they did was wrong? They would have boiled me in oil. So I even put passage on a ship manned by heathen sailors bound for Tarshish, and stayed below decks just in case. But Yahweh's arm was long. The ship ran into a vicious hurricane. The wind, rain, and raging seas threatened to break the ship up. The crew were panic-stricken. They threw everything off. They prayed to their gods. Nothing worked. And then they got me up out of my bunk and asked me to pray to my God just in case. So I really had to explain to them I was escaping from the Lord of the seas and sky. So I knew then there was no way running away from Yahweh. And I asked them to throw me overboard. They didn't want to do that right away, but eventually, when the waves got really bad and the ship was showing signs of breaking up, they did what I asked. And lo, the sea became calm. And I understood later on, and the sailors, having been frightened out of their wits, knew then that Yahweh was the Lord of everything. But in the meantime, he seemed to be not with me. I was not only drowning in the huge waves, but I was facing a large maw. It seemed that the whale with his open mouth could swallow the stitch itself, but it only swallowed me. So, for 3 days and 3 nights, I was lost to the land of the living.
Days in the belly of the whale. 3 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 days in the belly of the whale.
I didn't even want the job. Space-time makes me queasy. But the boss says jump. Now, don't get me wrong, we were all very proud of Josh, and what he'd accomplished, and frankly, I didn't mind getting out while all the refugees were getting acquainted with the new digs. I just wasn't looking forward to making those women upset. And believe me, they always get upset when we show up. But I had a job to do, and a buddy to take along, so off we went. I have to say, it's always fun to see the looks on their faces, but anyhow, like I said, we had a job to do. So, in and out, deliver the message, very simple. So we told them, "Why do you seek the living among the dead?" Pretty clever, huh? And we went on. "He is not here, but has risen. Remember what he told you while he was still in Galilee. It is necessary that the Son of Man be handed over to sinners and be crucified, and after 3 days rise again." Well, seeing the looks on their faces after that it was quite rewarding. I didn't regret making the trip so much after that. Watching the shock give way to realization and joy, well, that made my day, for lack of a better word. We were done with our part of the responsibility, but we stuck around and watched over them as they went off to see Josh's old friends. And we kind of laughed and kind of cried when they didn't believe them. But it wasn't a surprise, even for temporal beings could have seen that one coming. But then Peter started to get it. And when he started to get it, he jumped up and ran to the tomb. And I could see what Josh saw in that guy. Well, that made my day too. But it was time to go back. We had plenty of work to do, getting the refugees integrated into their new surroundings. It took them some getting used to, probably even more than it took us getting used to their presence. The boss made it very clear that I was not supposed to tell you anything about what's in store for you. So, I'll just say I don't think she'll mind. You ain't seen nothing yet.